Hey, thanks for coming. So this whole session is going to be about interfaces, and Jan and me are going to present a couple of things we've produced over the course of the last years, I guess. We kind of want to split it in two. I'm going to first talk a bit about user interfaces, like actual stuff you see on the screen. And as the second part, we also want to, because it's just as important, if not more important in a way, talk about APIs, about interfaces for non-humans, like interfaces for programs, which should be like first-class users. Not all your users are humans, hopefully. So there's at least 4 different things we're going to show. One is maybe more. One is Pandora. It's pan.do/ra, which is a system we've written in the last years and released this summer, which is a platform for, or a framework if you want, for media archives. There are 2 archives we're kind of involved in, 2 video archives that run on this platform. One is 0xDB. That's more of our personal database of sort. And another one is pad.ma, which is a huge, mostly footage archive that's based in Bombay, and that is kind of a joint initiative between a couple of groups, most of them in Bombay and Bangalore. What do we mean by interface? And I mean, the genesis of this is a bit complicated. We've written OXDB first, 4 or 5 years ago. Then we've written pad.ma. And then later we noticed it would be very good to actually, for these 2 archives to have and potentially more, to have a common basis. So we actually have written Pandora after. So we created the system on which we then re-implemented OXDB and Pandora. The idea is that Pandora should not only allow us or groups that we are part of to run video archives, but that it's actually something that many, many more individuals and groups should be able to use. User interface. It's neither my computer nor my account, so it will be a bit. I will be a bit handicapped, but doesn't matter so much. So, user interface. What Pandora, in this case OXDB, can show you. Okay, let's try that. Just make a list view of everything. So it's 2 things basically. You can, with an archive, and all this, it's probably not necessary to say it, all this we hope, we present in the hope that it can also be extended to other types of media. This is all about video, but you can do similar things, of course, with music or texts or other things. So lists of things. So this is kind of the full index of the archive. On the bottom you see the stats, like it's 12,000 movies that are archived in this database. And one of the goals is, okay, you can actually scroll through all of them. They're now sorted by director, but if you want to go to the bottom of the list, it's a very big list. You can't display it all at the same time, but you just scroll there and boom, you have it. Nice way to navigate. While searching stuff is extremely easy with this find stuff up there, one of the things that for us make it a lot easier to access things we're actually looking for is that we have these filters. It's a bit similar to iTunes maybe, but you can say like, okay, these are movies now from either 2009 or 2007, and now let's look at the Spanish language ones and or Russian language ones. Now it's down to 56 movies, and now, okay, there's already the Michael Moore film I'm looking for, you see on the director's list. So you have these filters with which you can actually drill down to specific things really fast. You can, of course, also just, if you click on the find all thing, you can find, you can search for kind of many properties of these things. You can also, in the list, if you click on the triangle in the list itself, you can add more columns to the list. So there's very, very many things you can display. So if you want to sort your archive by saturation, for example, or lightness, this is the average saturation of a film, you will, and now you can switch something else off, you can do that and you just click on saturation and you'll have the full thing sorted by saturation. Now these lists are nice, but sometimes you don't want to have a screen full of text, so you can switch the view to other things. The most logical other thing is a grid, so that's a grid of icons. On the left side, I'm not going to talk about it much, but if you want to put some, you can make lists, smart lists like saved searches, or you kind of a stupid list, like just drag a movie to a list and it will be added to it. Yeah, it works on my machine. Yeah, spring-loaded folders. Mm-hmm. Very cool. So that's one way of looking at the list of things, but there are even more interesting ways of visualizing film. So user interfaces. One thing, it came up yesterday, this statement that the book is such a great piece of technology because it allows this kind of quick random access. Book tells you from just looking at it how big it is, how long it's going to be. You always have good spatial orientation. You know, oh, this book is almost finished because it feels kind of, there are fewer pages left now. Ah, something is on the top left of a page. It's just great for orientation. And we were just wondering, like, there's nothing like this for video. How can we browse a big video library so that it becomes a bit more kind of, that you can do this kind of, how can you get a spatial overview? How can you navigate better? So, one view would be timelines. A timeline is a visual signature of a movie. In this case, we have different resolutions of these. In this case, it's 1 second per pixel if you want. And you get an instant idea of what the texture of the film is. If you scroll down, you see, this is now a list of James Benning. I don't know if anyone is into James Benning, but in case anyone here is, you'll recognize immediately, okay, it must be a James Benning film. Has these, you see the cuts. Like colored film, structural film, Guy Debord's very minimal film, again a colored film, something with very fast cuts, McFiggy's time code, which is a split screen, more structural things, so you get in something that is, you see certain types of camera movement. If you look closely, you can see what is a zoom and a pan. You see that Godard's films from '67 look very similar. These three have a common signature. You can navigate by clicking on if you want to know what the red stuff is or this stuff is. Click on it, you'll see it on the side. So these are timelines, like one way of just getting a vague idea of how long is this, what's in there, how does it look, without having to actually. I mean, just imagine doing this with DVDs. Operation not permitted, wait, wrong DVD, eject, next DVD. It's just nicer, kind of. But it doesn't really stop there. One thing you can, of course, do is, we have all these films, and we have subtitles for many. So why not full text search in a movie archive? Why not search for, like this is now, search for the term Paris. Takes a moment. So now you actually get these search results for your query, whatever it is. They are highlighted, these kind of little yellow things here you see. These are your matches for your query. You see immediately where it appears in the film, what the quote is, and click on it, you see the scene. And now you can also switch this to clips. That's another way of looking at a movie. It's like you view it with clips. Now you see all your search results throughout the archive for a given query. These are not, you get these stills, but these stills are not stills. These are all video players. You can just click on it and play it. Don't know if we don't have sound, and we. Okay, this is Google's fault, not ours. Usually video works. We have a lot of interesting data. So now why don't we switch this to? I think you would have to remove the search. You can also just view the whole archive on a map. How does that work? we have all these subtitles, and there are a lot of location information in there. Like something like Paris, we know, this should be a place. So let's just not look at a list of films. Let's just look at the whole archive on a map. So that looks like this. The more you zoom in, the more, this was just a subset. So this is now the whole archive. You can still search. I mean, whatever your queries are or your filters, it will also filter the map by these. Really, the more you zoom in, if you type maybe find Slovenia or something, even though Slovenia is probably sparsely populated, or Los Angeles. So you see, there's a lot of stuff that's coming up when you zoom closer. And if you click on one of these locations, Bunker Hill in Los Angeles, you'll get all the scenes that actually mention this place. Again, these are players, you can just play the stuff. If you want to sort the scenes by color, by hue or something, or by duration, or by whatever, by many properties, by how much money the film made or lost, or what year it was made, or you can do that as well. And this is a small preview. That doesn't play here because it's... another thing is a calendar. So we don't just have location information, but there's also temporal information in there. So if you want to see the whole archive on a timeline, that looks like this. Ooh. So this is a bit similar to a map. If you zoom in, you see a lot of very precise stuff happening there. Orange things are actual people, green things are territories or things that are places, events, actual dates. If you zoom in, you see a single second. If you zoom out, you see the Stone Age. So winter 1941, 3 results, these clips. So that's what you can do with lists of things. Now, I think for demonstration purposes, maybe we can use a short film. So something that's not too long to show the item itself. Like or from the timelines list, maybe we'll see that something is short. Already? Oh my God, yeah. Please. Captions. From the closed caption, from the subtitles, yes. That's the main body of textual data we have. It's not the only one. You'll see a bit more that we can do, but yeah. This is a very structural thing. It's not maybe. Well, this is a bit sad because it doesn't have much metadata, but you'll see. So there are now different views for a film. One is it's very black. These are okay. Yeah, these are good. So just as you can view a list of things in different ways, you can also view one film in different ways. This is like the editor view. It's not a video editor yet, but it's an annotation editor. So the idea is you can do time-based annotations. In this case also we have more than subtitles, we actually have notes. Anyone can do this. Make an account, you can add notes to the timeline. You just set an in point, an out point, write something, it's there. In this case, someone has produced the references for all and double-click on it, edit it, this type of sort it by whatever you want. So you get these kind of, you can attach textual or whatever information you want to the timeline. Here you see a bigger timeline actually. So you get a lot higher resolution on the timeline. The subtitles are on the timeline. You can drag it. You see in the middle there's a player. There's the in point of your selection, the out point of your selection. You can all this has keyboard navigation. So for people who do this, who do a lot of annotation with this, it's as comfortable as we kind of could make it. That's one view, if you want, for a film. You can do the single film on the map. That will give you all the locations or on a calendar that will give you the places that apply to this, that we know about this film. There's info, which is like basic metadata that we collect from various places. plus some more obscure stuff on the side, and all these are interlinked. You'll see connections, films this is connected to. You just click on it, you'll get there. There's also exactly you'll get to the next film and back. And I think you have to click back again because there's a redirect. This is a bug. If you switch to view timeline, I guess, there's also a possibility this will be a bit slow probably. You can also just view the kind of the high resolution timeline for a film, and this, if it worked, but it's really Google's fault that you don't see the video, but you can also have like the actual film move across this timeline. It would play, it would have sound, it would, I mean, if you don't use a bleeding edge browser, then this works. Ah, there's a bit of kind of, it looks a bit like video. Now, this is like a vague overview. If you go to the pad.ma tab, you will notice that pad.ma, oh, cool, yeah. I completely forgot that we did this. So we have oh yes. So we have there's different ways of visualizing this, like what we've seen before was like more like averages if you want, but you can also have a more like a slit scan kind of thing. This is extremely, I don't know if someone here knows the film Russian Ark, which is this kind of one-shot 90-minute film. The slit scan timeline of that movie just looks gorgeous because it's kind of the full panorama. You see all these scenes on the timeline. It's do we want to show it? Do you think? It's just if you Russian Ark, yeah. It it's not in that list, of course. So, as you notice, the application remembers what you did. Like you can collapse and resize all the elements, and the next time you load the page, it will remember your settings. So here's Russian Ark, and the timeline of that. It's a bit slow. Like for longer films, this timeline thing is a bit. It can be a bit slow, but if you scroll down, you see that there's. Like you can actually see there's scenes in the middle where you see these rooms in the Hermitage in St. Petersburg. There's always just the center pixel of every frame stitched together. And you can switch this to keyframes, so we have also like the kind of, there more. You can have an audio timeline if you want. You have there are many more maybe while this happens, here we are. So these are just full frames. It detects cuts, so it knows kind of what the important frames are. In this film, it won't detect a cut because it doesn't really have one, and so on. So now if you switch to pad.ma, you'll see that pad.ma looks similar but not the same. And the paradigm is different. The types of metadata you have are different. The logos you see, the icons for the films are quite different. These categories and filters you have on top that you can also just set if you don't want a topics filter, but more like or the keywords don't interest you, but you're interested in places that appear, you can just switch them. The color theme is different, even though you can switch it to a new one. And the types of annotations that are made on pad.ma. There's another nasty Chrome bug that we'll see here. You can switch. If you open an item and go to editor view, you see that there are different types of annotations here. Here, for example, places don't get locations don't get parsed from subtitles, but they can actually be set. So if you play a movie, you will see this map actually move. There's only one location in this one, so that's a bit not much. Oh, there are quite a few, but they're all the same. They just appear in different places in the film. So pad.ma has a somewhat different paradigm. To wrap up the user interface part, what you'll see is like if you open the menu, these menus have keyboard navigation, and you can just, they behave kind of like you would expect them to behave. If you go to find advanced, for example, you'll get these auto advanced find there. Most of these have keyboard shortcuts. You get these well, undermines my argument a bit, but all these, you can go to whatever view users or to something that gives you a dialogue or a list or manage events or whatever. So all these are kind of reusable interface elements if you want. There's a list of things, like a list of movies here. You have a list of places, and you can click on them and define them. This is for admins or for people who have an account, that you can actually define these places. And so on. So now, just as for the archives, for the different archiving projects we're involved in, we wanted to share the software so that others can do this. The same is true for the interface. This is not something we've just produced for this video archive, but there's actually OXJS, which is a library we've released, which has all these user interface elements. So if you go to documentation, whatever, it comes with proper documentation. You can see what kind of the UI part is probably the most interesting down there. What kind of functions they have, how they work. It is, I think, for anyone trying to implement some application that's delivered in the browser, this is something that's interesting to look at least. It comes with examples. So if you want to know how to make whatever, lists cities or something, lists countries. So how to use these elements, there's documented code, and if you click on View Live, you see what it does. So how to make these elements, these lists that you can sort, and that have built-in search, and that can be, for example, tied up to a map, so that if you click on one side, the other side will refresh, etc. So if you select Manila. So in terms of user interfaces, this is the kind of the proposal we can make for video archives. I think, I don't know, the kind of the goals we set ourselves were mostly things we wanted ourselves, but it was kind of developed in the hope that a lot of this is useful beyond the use cases we use it for, and that you can build very different. I mean, you can also show cable gates. It's very easy, since we have all these things, and they're abstract, they're generic, they can be used. It's very easy to use Pandora or the libraries we have to produce something like this, which gets closer to the whole topic of this conference here, which is a huge archive or an interface to browse a large body of leaked diplomatic communications. And again, this is a lot of data. It's 600,000 cables or whatever. You will want to be able to browse them in a more comfortable way. So drill down to search for a keyword, take the secret ones, use whatever, filter down so body of hundreds of thousands of items becomes a bit more usable.
So, do you have an interface for watching one movie? Or
yeah,
what
we also have we didn't even show that to you. We have
and can you like embed stuff from the other web pages like YouTube? Or yeah, basically.
Okay, this is the player.
And upload. I don't think you've showed how upload looks.
We can do it in another browser. There's a player. You can full screen it. You have search in the player. So while the movie's playing, you just type find foo, and it shows you the points. It is embeddable, even though we kind of we have a few ideas about embedding pad.ma in other sites that go a bit beyond what you can see immediately. But I think maybe it's also the moment to hand over the mic to Jan, because I think the best way to embed all this is to use the Pandora API. This thing is a backend written in Python, a frontend in JavaScript, and all that is in between is a JSON API. There's no HTML templates, or no, the backend has no idea about what the front end does with it. It's really just you make requests and it spits you stuff out, and then the front end renders all that, takes care of what a URL is, how back forward works, etc. But this API is 100% public. So everyone else is invited to use the very same API to say, like, okay, I want this movie at position X.
Yeah, so each of the sites themselves, they have the documentation of the API available, and I don't know, we can have a look. If you want to, I don't know, for example, find items on the site, you can use the same query that would be used for the list view. But also, yeah, if you want to get information about one specific item, you get that with all the keys you want. You can also do all the editing operations on it. And the video, so in addition to that, all the elements that are, so if you want to embed the videos all have nice URLs. So if you, for example, are here on one item, you would just take the resolution you want, let's say, RTP.webm. Almost. Writing with one hand. Then you just get direct access to that video. Since the site itself uses HTML5, so all the seeking and so on you could do on your site, but there is also a simple iframe embed, which not so powerful, but in terms of with this API, I mean, one way to use it would be to use it on another website by just pulling in, for example, the annotations next to things, something that it looks quite different. These are texts, for example, that people have written with the pad.ma in mind, or with references to it. So if you go through this text, and there's one link, so this is pulling in now the information from pad.ma, playing it, showing information next to it. A completely different interface. So through this. So I mean, usually this idea that the only way you want to embed a video on another site is that it's a black box that plays, and you have the advertisement of the other side or something. Maybe it's not the most interesting way to use these resources. Yeah, one element of this is then to use it in the browser, but or the API also works from Python, so you can script interactions with the site, do cleanups of keywords, or to import large amounts. There are different clients for pad.ma that do the import, or for Pandora there's the video importing is done with the client. You can also do it through the website, but for larger archives you want to do, maybe you have to switch that you do some navigation. And so for one, in terms of these ideas of making these elements modular for OXCB, for example, a lot of the information that you see on the site is coming from other places on the net, which we have written various scrapers for. This is available as a Python module that you can use as well, and some of the data is also collected then on a resource that. So these are more data then that takes a bit longer to get. You cannot just yourself query these sites, but maybe you have to go through thousands of sites, and then we have various forms of thinking of the information as, or make it as manageable as possible, and then that it could be used by other. This is, I mean, if you are interested, this is only now information on films, but so posters, titles, descriptions, clips, other all these things. But I think similar, yeah, this is something then also for books that would be interesting to think of. What are these resources that are there, and how could they come together? Or how do you, don't know.
Just that the rest of everything you've seen, the scrapers we use are also open source, and there's a whole Python library that is kind of part of the deal.
There's some Python X information. In terms of I mean, maybe in terms of APIs, maybe we can shortly show. Since right now my head is mostly still on this other thing that I've been working on for the last 2 days. That is an attempt to maybe think of metadata and files and how they relate to each other in a more a bit more abstract level as a service. So this is basedata.org, which is a database of files and works that are associated with it, and you can write to that if you have other, if you already know that you have files and know what they are, or you can just look up information about a file. Right now I've imported some of the library Genesis there, but I think that eventually we also import some of the videos, the films, information about films there. So generally as a place to share this information, because a lot of the work that you do when you have large collections is to constantly identify or re-identify what you actually have. And then to make this more of a shared activity and not some this that everyone gets, like you copy the files quite fast, you come by for an afternoon, you have then a terabyte of new files, but you don't really know what they are, while someone else has already maybe looked at them, knows what they are. So to make this a more a process that can be maybe not repeated and the results of it checked. Maybe this will be the ground for that. So let's see.
Download this stuff right out, or use the site. Both pad.ma and OXDB in very different ways have a lot of.
Yeah. So I mean, you can download all the source code, but with Pandora, that we also have a virtual machine available that you can just a VirtualBox machine. You can just start it up. Runs on your laptop, you start it up. You can import files. There are some examples in there if you want to look at it more closely.